Kamaru Usman opening up about the fact that, he's been seeing what everyone's been saying on the internet, kind of like what you and me spoke about when it comes to the odds, the haters, the knees, this, and the other. And he's also been dealing with a lot, trying to get the monkey off his back. He kept repeating it, which is kind of like he wanted to get in there, right? He wanted to show everyone he could do it, that he's still the same fighter. I mean, that's what we saw today, right? That's what he was just able to demonstrate in that octagon.
Absolutely. All the doubters, I mean, this meant a lot for him. You could see it. I mean, he was battling back emotion. And we talked about that kind of coming in, that sometimes I think Kamaru Usman on camera and off camera is two different guys. And, I think he always tries to strike a very confident figure out front and not, open up to the battles that everybody faces, man. That's the one thing that I think is so amazing about the sport, is the doubts and the fears and, all those things that happen. Everybody faces it, and everybody tries to say they don't see the naysayers and they don't hear about it, but they do, and they see it. And that little self-doubt trickles in with you as well. Like, are they right? Am I not that guy anymore? So to go out there and deliver like that and to see the emotion that it meant. He mentioned the fact that his daughter wasn't able to be there, and he said, look, that's a whole different story. So who knows, how far that story goes into his personal battles. But I mean, look, amazing. This is a virtuoso performance from him at this point in his career. And as I said, Joaquin Buckley will be back. There are bright days ahead for Joaquin Buckley. That guy is the real deal. If I see somebody say the term fraud check, I just hate that term. Number one, like, nobody's a fraud in there. I hate that term.
But I feel like that's a big YouTube clicking term, right? Like,
I hate it. I hate the way people throw that out there. But no, this is great for Usman. I said, like, going in, like, I knew this was gonna be a tough fight for Usman, but I was gonna be cheering for the old man, and he got it done, dude. That was impressive. That was very impressive.
So let's have a look at the rankings right here as it sort of uploads onto the screen. This needs to be updated still. We'll see what happens after this. But first of all, number 5, Kamaru Usman. What do you anticipate he's going to be come Monday, man? How high up do you reckon he's going to be in the division?
I mean, I don't know. Will he move up?
Does he stay in the same spot, or because
Probably.
Buckley's a little, yeah.
Unfortunately, and I hate that because a win of that magnitude to not be rewarded with movement, it sucks, right? But you got Leon Edwards right in front of him, and he's got 2 losses to him. You know what I mean? So how do you move? How do you go? Well, that was so impressive. I got to move him past Leon Edwards. You can't. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, yeah, I think he probably stays at number 5. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't even really be surprised to see Buckley just stay at number 7. You know what I mean? So we'll see what that goes. But I mean, you can't. I mean, if you want to move him behind Michael Morales, I guess you could drop him 1. And these are things that I'll figure out when I do my rankings tomorrow morning as part of the voting panel. But like, maybe you drop him behind Michael Morales, but you can't drop him behind Colby Covington, right? So, you can't drop him behind Gilbert Burns. So this might be a situation where the welterweight update is no update. Everybody just stays the same after 25 minutes of hand-to-hand combat.
So what is next for Kamaru Usman then, man? It's interesting. Obviously, he spoke about big plans of wanting to fight DDP and move up and this and this and that. All we know for certain is it will be Islam and JDM towards the end of this year. I don't see a scenario where that fight doesn't happen. But do you think Kamaru can get in a position where he could get the next title shot? I think he'll probably at least have to fight one more time, right? Before he could potentially get a crack.
Yeah, he'll have to fight one more time for sure. I mean,
let's have a look here. Who do we have? We've got Sean Brady, Shavkat, Belal. I mean, him and Belal have had this rivalry now for a while.
That to me, that's the fight, right? Like that to me, I mean, I could be wrong, but that to me looks like the fight, right? Like, I don't think you want, because listen, that Usman and Belal are not a whole lot long, especially Usman. I mean, Belal's, he may have a few years ahead, but Usman doesn't have a whole lot longer for this weight class, right? So why would you necessarily want to see him go in there and spoil Sean Brady at this point? Why would you necessarily see him go in there and spoil Shavkat Rakhmonov at this point, depending on which way that title fight all shakes out and what happens with all those guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, we just talked about this fresh blood, this new generation, this revamp of the division is almost complete. I don't think you would want to see somebody pause that redevelopment of the division. So for me, those names are out. I think the fight that makes Belal Muhammad, I think the two of them together would sell the fight very well, because you don't even have to really say it's a number 1 contender fight. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But, because you've got Islam coming up, you've got Sean Brady, you've got Shavkat. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't even really need to say, like, oh, well, the stakes of this fight are, the winner gets the title. Maybe the winner gets the title, but what really happens? Bragging rights. Like you said, they've been going at it for a while. So to me, again, we got to see how everybody's healing up, timeline, schedules, all those things. But that to me looks like the slam dunk matchup to make.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know Ian Garry might have been trying to position himself for a Belal fight, but you want to see this over the Ian Garry fight?
I do, to be honest with you. I think that, again, I like that fresh generation, not necessarily, having any concern of being bumped down a little bit on the way out. I mean, look, like you said, I mean, Joaquin Buckley has time to make it up, but he's going to take maybe he stays at number 7, but in terms of just, forward trajectory, that's just been halted. So I just think you're so close to revamping this entire division that I think that's the one I'd like to see.
Yeah, I'm just having a look here, and there was a little message from Belal Muhammad on Twitter. Congrats, see you soon. I mean, for Belal, you would think this is also a fight that makes a lot of sense. We've been talking about this podcast now for about 3,000 years and what happened on the podcast. What were the stories on the podcast? In terms of what we saw from Kamaru Usman tonight, though, sorry,
and I was going to say, hey, you won't have a problem with the manager not making it happen. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, is your guy in? Because my guy's in. You know what's funny? They're both my guy. They're both in. Let's go. Let's have it.
The only thing I would see is, like, I don't know what the UFC would think, right? Because maybe they're like 2 wrestlers standing. Because this is what I want to get from you, man. Like what we saw from Belal last fight. Maybe he didn't really implement his game plan like he should have, but JDM just looked so good. He was able to stop those takedowns. He just looked so good. But then we saw Kamaru today. He looked great as well up until that last round. From what you've seen from Belal last fight and what we saw from Kamaru here, like if you had to lean towards one or the other, who do you think would win that matchup?
I mean, if I'm literally just looking at their last 2 fights, I'm leaning towards Usman all day, right? But look, I always hate to criticize somebody's performance or game plan because I feel like it automatically means I'm putting down Jack Della Maddalena and just being like, oh, well, if Belal hadn't been out there trying to show his Canelo hands, like you would have had no chance, bro. You know what I mean? Like, no, I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? So I Jack Della Maddalena looked fantastic, and what a great fighter he is, and how fun is he to have as a champion. Again, we talk about fresh blood, but I do feel like that last performance was a little bit puzzling. Whether there was an injury, whether there was a game plan approach, whether it was an execution approach. That Belal Muhammad that I saw last time out was not the guy that I've come to know and expect to see in the cage. So if we're literally looking off just their last 2 performances, I'm leaning towards Usman. But if we're looking at the body of work, I think it could be competitive. And you're right, 2 wrestlers, 2 grapplers, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of times that grappling cancels each other out and you end up throwing down. You know what I mean? So I think it's a fight to make. And again, I think they'd sell the fight tremendously well. I mean, as a supporting fight on a pay-per-view, or maybe you've got a title fight that you don't necessarily think is going to be the biggest drawing title fight, so you got to put in some support around it. And do I need to see if Conor McGregor makes a comeback, do I need to put in Usman and Muhammad on the support of that? No, we're good to go. Like, we don't need to put you there. But if you need something that, hey, I'm not sure this title fight's going to sell enough, I need a little something else in there, I think those 2 guys would have a lot of fun online, social media. They both got podcasts. They've got megaphones to amplify at all time outside of just the UFC promotional vehicle. So I think it's a good fight to make.
So we got Lazy Bet in the comments saying Brady versus Kamaru would be a ton of fun too. Let's say it is Kamaru and Belal next. Just bringing that division back up here again. How are we booking the rest of the division? We've obviously then got Sean Brady, Shavkat, Leon Edwards, Ian Garry. Michael Morales is also someone that's sort of pushing his way up there. Shavkat, not 100% sure what's going to happen with his knee yet. We haven't heard from him. From what I understand with his manager, they don't want to say anything until he's close to being healthy, and we're not hearing much. So I would say he's still a little further away from that. So how would you book this division, let's say right now, if we do have Belal Muhammad fighting Kamaru Usman next?
Well, that's when it does get tricky, right? Because you're right about Shavkat. I feel like we're in the same position that we don't really know exactly what's going on. I mean, look, you could always run back Brady and Muhammad. You know what I mean? There's a big standing story there. So it's tough, man. It's good. That's the challenge, right? Because you got a lot of guys at the top of that division that are like, I think I'm next for the title shot. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, but that might be 18 months from now. So are you sure you want to do it? So I do feel like this is one where you got options, and I don't feel like many of them are bad. You know what I mean? I think that's what's exciting, because if you look at it, right? I mean, Belal, he's got the redemption arc. Sean Brady, he looks like, the guy in waiting. Shavkat has been the guy forever. This injury just shut him back. Leon, Leon has the setbacks, and he's a little bit quieter. He's not the big seller, so maybe he's a little bit outside the equation. But now you have Usman, who's revitalized himself. You got Ian Machado Garry, who, he's not going to turn down a fight, and he'll be happy to sell a fight. You have Michael Morales. So you got a lot of really good options right now in terms of what to do. But I think, number one, you got to see what happens with Islam moving up, and you got to see what happens with Shavkat. So there's a lot of pairings you can make there, though. That's one where I think the matchmakers get to sit in a room, and they get to rub their hands a little bit together, and they look, we got this option, we got that option. Look, we talked about it. Kind of geography always plays into a factor, like where's the fight taking place. That's going to matter who was. So you got a lot of fun options. But here's what's interesting about tonight is you can't have any of these conversations without Usman's name being in there.
Oh, for sure. By the way, someone bringing up Colby versus Morales. I don't think that's a fight that Colby Covington would be looking to take right now. Ian Garry, though, just quickly, fascinating one for me. He's obviously a big star in the division. By the way, what about Buckley and Carlos Prates? Man, that would be a fun fight to make next. Both guys on the feet, There's some fun matchmaking right there. But yeah, Ian Machado Garry, I still like this Leon Edwards fight for him, man. There's some heat from the training that they did together. You use a name like the UFC love to use former champions to build stars. And this way, we're not, we're not getting rid of a bunch of contenders in one go, right? Like if Ian Garry can go out there and dominate Leon Edwards, I think that puts him in a great spot for potentially maybe even fighting for a belt down the track, like maybe even next if he's ready to go, like, and the UFC throws it towards his way as a backup or whatever. Like, that's a great fight right there, Leo. And if you're Leon Edwards, that's actually a fun fight for you as well. That's something that you can headline against.
Yeah, I like that matchup as well. I was thinking about what's in Europe right now. I mean, I think there's a Paris show coming up. Obviously we talk about the French contenders and that sort of thing. Maybe Cyril Gane will be fighting for the interim title at that point in France. But with that,
don't say it. It's like Beetlejuice. It might happen. Don't do it.
I want to see. I want to see Tom Aspinall defend his interim title a few more times to really prove that he is the deserving interim champion. So but I'd love to see that. Again, location means a lot. So I love that fight anywhere. Obviously those two could meet in Vegas or whatever, but that would be a great fight. Again, storylines. You're not wrong with any of these fights, but you need hype around them too. You've got this new wave of talent. You've got a lot of big names in that welterweight division. But you're always thinking about storylines, right? I mean, that's what gets people enticed about it. We like the fights, but we like the build up to them as well. And so I like that as well. And Leon doesn't have a ton of fights left, right? I'm not saying that he's done, but I don't think he's going to be fighting for another 5 years. So why not go ahead and get fights like that when you can?
Yeah, man. And just a reminder, everybody watching, you guys can join and become a Submission Radio member. Thanks to Lazy Bed for throwing it out there in the comments. And also a comment here just about Kevin Holland. We mentioned him earlier. 170, dude. I'll tell you, they're not having the problems of 205 at heavyweight. There's another man, Kevin Holland, an interesting man in the welterweight division, right? Looks like he's starting to turn things around. When you look at Kevin Holland's run, man, this is a man that has a competitive split decision loss to the champ right now in JDM. When he's motivated, when he's on point, he's looking dangerous. Another name to keep an eye on. Maybe this guy can turn things around and have a little bit of a run at 172. Some good wins for him as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Look, I think 170 is definitely the right place for him to be. And I think the thing about Kevin Holland is I think Kevin Holland has elevated himself into that position. And listen, when I say this, when I say like the Diaz brothers, like a Carlos Condit, people say, wait, those guys are but I'm just saying guys that, like, if they get announced for a fight, the first thing I don't ask myself is like, how many wins do they have in a row or how many losses they have in a row? Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? When you say Kevin Holland's on a fight card, I don't sit back and go, well, what does this mean for the division? And is that matchmaking proper? Because wait a minute, hasn't Kevin Holland lost 2 and his opponent has won 3? How does that make any sense? I don't say that. I just go, Kevin Holland, let's go. I want to watch that fight. You know what I mean? So names like that, we're like, I don't care what their record is. I don't care what their streak is. I don't care what their ranking is. I just want to watch him fight. But I do feel like he can be very effective at 170.
Yeah, have a look at that record for anybody who's missed out on his career losses to RDR, Roman Dolidze, the MVP loss, JDM, like these. Then before that, Stephen Thompson, Hamzat Chimaev. Like this is just basically a man throwing himself into the octagon as quickly as he can and whatever weight class he can get paid at. Just quickly,
he's already fought 3 times this year.
Dude, it's insane. It's insane. Just quickly, what did you make before we move off of this division? What did you make of MVP choosing to stick at middleweight and fight Jared Cannonier next at UFC 319 here? Strategically, not a bad decision considering 170 couldn't be more packed, right? For MVP, you're like, well, why am I cutting the weight if basically there's no shot of me getting a title shot in about 100? I could win like 4 times. I'll still not be getting a title shot. And he's a little bit older himself. Do you like this move from him of being like, I'll just stick it around in middleweight and fight Jared Cannonier? Maybe I'll have a run there.
I do. I thought this was pretty smart because I think it is. I think it's MVP's a smart guy. You just laid it out, and I think he's realistic enough to understand that's the reality of his situation right now. You know what I mean? So the fact that I can stay in a division where I don't have to cut weight, it's not difficult. It's easy for me to make. And oh, by the way, I'm gonna get to fight number 7 in the division. We just talked about it. Like there's so many names at welterweight right now, including several of them who probably believe that they deserve the title fight next. That you're in a long line at, and I think he's 38 right now as well. So it's just like, why not stay in a division where I don't have to cut weight, freshen it up, give me some new matchups, and who knows what the hell happens. Let's go for it. So I like it. And by the way, MVP is one of those guys too, where I don't care who you put him against. Like I just know it's going to be fun. So like, let's go, So I do like this division.
I love it, man. Jared Cannonier as well, another legend in the division. And I saw Lazy Bed mention that, apparently he claimed his job was in jeopardy if he didn't take this fight. But if I'm Cannonier as well, I'm like, yeah, I'll take that fight. That's you know what I mean? Like, it's better than fighting like Akaya Bahayo again or something like, like if I'm Jared Cannonier, I'm like, big name, maybe get another win. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a terrible fight all around for both guys. Like, not bad decision all around.
And oh, by the way, I mean this in the most respectful way possible. Doesn't Jared Cannonier like always feel like there's a little chip on his shoulder, like the world's like? I know if I turn this fight down, like they were gonna cut me. When in reality, they were just like, we'd really appreciate it if you could take this fight. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like he always feels like, man, like. But I think he likes that. You know what I mean? He likes to feel like, oh, you're doubting me? You doubting me? Like, come on, man, I got this. So. I don't know how true that is or not, but I like the fact that he took the fight too. I just think he likes fighting, man. So I respect it.
Just a couple more things from the card here today, John. Obviously, we just spoke about the main event. Here it is here. Kamaru Usman, incredible win. Buckley still showing that he's dangerous. Still so much left for him in the division. Rose Namajunas, we spoke about that. For those that maybe might have missed it, what do you think should be next for her? We were sort of discussing it before the main event, but those that might have just been tuning in now, what would you like to see next for Rose Namajunas after this win over Miranda Maverick?
It's tough, man, because I hate to say she just had a very impressive and convincing win in that division, and I'd say that you need to go to 115. There's just nothing that stands. It's just her career is so interesting with the ups and downs and the division switches and the moves. You know what I mean? So I don't look at anything and I'd be like, that's the clear fight to make right now. Like it's in a weird position with her being kind of middle of the pack in the division right now. But that was a very impressive performance. And look, she's a star too. People respond to her. You know what I mean? Like especially the casual fans. So for a championship run, I'd love to see her at 115. I just feel like she's better suited for strawweight, but if she wants to stick around at 125 and have big fights, man, she has earned the right to do whatever the hell she wants.
Edmund Shabazian was able to pick up a good win here, but I want to talk about Cody Garbrandt, man. Picking up another loss here. Obviously, it was, it wasn't like he got knocked out. He had his moments in the fight, but I mean, is this it for him? Do you think you keep him around? You give him another fight? Obviously, he's not very young. He's probably a little bit past his peak here. Do you want to see Cody have another shot here, or do you think it could be it for him? What did you make of this performance, this losing performance from Cody?
We saw a little vintage Cody in there, right? Especially in that opening round. He had the knockdown and he kind of pointed at it and had some fun with it. Look, he's an entertaining fighter. I think the UFC likes him. I think he the star power that he brings to the table. I don't think the UFC is telling him this is it. If he decides that he's not interested in doing it anymore, that you know, he's been through some struggles, man, in and out of the cage. And if he decides like I'm just not interested in putting myself through this anymore, then you know, so be it. But the dude's marketable and he's fun, and you know, he's a guy that belongs fighting. You know, Hannah Barcelos showed some grit, man, and Heroni's a guy that's been, I think, severely underrated throughout pretty much the entirety of his career. You know what I mean? So again, if you're a casual, you could look at it and be like, you know, what? He lost to Raoni? Who is that? You know what I mean? But no, come on, man. If you know the game, you know that's a tough dude that's been underrated. Cody won the opening round. Tough moments for him. So I'm certainly not calling for Garbrandt to call it quits.
There's the record there for people that might have missed his recent fights. And, you know, some tough fights there, but obviously Rob Font, dangerous guy, Kai Kara-France fighting for the title, knockout power. We'll see how he does against Pantoja if he's able to get it done. A couple of wins there. And then Figueroa and Raoni, like you mentioned, I think maybe the next fight will be the most pivotal one for him, right? John, like one more loss could potentially push him out. But then, you know, I got people in the comments here like Lazybed saying BKFC. Like, I think Cody's the kind of guy that can have a run after this run and all sorts of promotions. I think this is exactly his style is exactly the kind of style where he can make money. You know, maybe Mike Perry's promotion, Dirty Boxing, which had a show today as well. Like, there's some options for him right outside of the UFC.
I agree. No, he's marked. Yeah, for whatever, if the UFC does, look, I'm sure he's, you know, I don't know exactly what his salary is right now in the UFC, but I'm sure it's not cheap, you know. So if they decide, look, and I don't think the UFC is going to want to get rid of him. You know, they put him in this position. He is a marketable guy, but you are 100% right about that. You know, whether it be BKFC, Dirty Boxing, Karate Combat, you know, whatever it may be, like he could have some fun at some all striking promotions.
I got to ask you as well about the Paul Craig fight, man, because there's a lot of debate happening online about what we saw. Obviously, an illegal up kick, saw him lose the fight. People are trying to figure out whether or not it was a flop. Was it legit? Was it a flop? Is this just a situation where, you know, just looked a little bit funny? Here's a couple of seconds here, you know, Paul Craig with the up kick over here. And then obviously the pop-up here after being completely knocked out. He did go on to potentially wrestle the ref as well, or whatever, or fight the ref. So signs of a potential real legit knockdown. But what do you make of this, man? And by the way, what about this fight not happening the first time because of the herpes? Now this is the way that this actual fight finishes. It's a strange scenario after strange scenario for both of these guys.
I was just laughing, by the way, at that GIF. Whoever posted that was pretty funny. It looked like a very severe soccer foul that happened there, but that was good. No, it was weird because I'll be honest. Look, watching it in live action, I'm like, damn, like Paul Craig made a mistake there. You know what I mean? And then the discussion was, you know, is this a no contest or a disqualification? The way the wording is written is kind of weird because you talk about intent, and I've always thought that's a weird way. Like, well, I intended to throw the up kick and I intended to hit him with it, but I didn't intend to throw a foul. So I've always thought the wording of the language itself is a little bit interesting. But I kind of lean towards no contest. You know, I thought that it looked like Bellato was, you know, posturing up, and I thought maybe Craig thought he had, you know, reached a standing position to throw it. So I was kind of okay with no contest. I know a lot of people are pushing for DQ. But as far as the knockdown, look, I'm not going to lie too. Like, it looked weird, especially when you consider the fact that, like, I mean, there's like frame by frame of like him literally looking over to the referee and doing this and then falling back. That's bizarre. But also, man, when you're talking about neurological stuff with brains and your neck and everything else, you know, and I kind of agree with what Paul said. I mean, you know, I watched a little bit of his post-fight interview where he's like, listen, man, I don't think people are looking for easy way outs here, man. I mean, we're fighters at the highest level at the UFC. So to think that you come in and you're like, oh, here I'm out. You know, now it's interesting, right? Because if you're like, well, maybe I embellished a little bit because I was trying to get a point taken, and then they did, you know, then they ended the fight. And, oh gosh, maybe I embellished too much. I mean, look, is there games of shit? Maybe, but I would never say somebody purely faked it. It was weird. If that look, the way he snapped to and started trying to grapple the referee and seemed confused, like if that was pure faking, it was damn good faking. You know what I mean? So I will say it looked bizarre and it looked odd to me, but the last thing I will ever sit here and do, again, I mean, shots to the neck, shots to the head, like you don't know how that stuff reacts, man. People do weird things. We've seen bodies flop around and react in all kinds of weird different situations. So did the tape look weird? It did. But me and my heart and the years of covering the sport and talking to these athletes, the first thing that I go to is to say that they're faking. Like, nah, man, I just can't make that leap. I know it's easy to do it and on the internet and be like, that guy's just making it up. I can't get myself there, but the footage did look weird, man. There's no question about it. To look over to the referee to signal that you're frustrated and then to fall back unconscious seems bizarre. But again, with this neurological stuff, man, you never know, man. You never know how it works.
Just looking through the rest of the card here, man, and finishing up, some notable performances here. Michael Chiesa caught McGee, a bit of an OG fight. Chiesa able to walk away from the win. Ricky Simone as well. Anything sort of stand out to you, John, apart from the fights that we've spoken about that Michael Chiesa, pretty impressive. Him and Court McGee fighting in 2025. Incredible. That's wild, bro.
I'm a big fan of both those guys, man. Just known them both for years. So I was a big fan. Not the greatest fight of the night by any stretch, but I'm a huge fan of those guys. But listen, Malcolm Wellmaker, that dude looks like the absolute future, man. And props to Chris Moutinho for stepping in. I mean, his first trip in the UFC wasn't great. He takes this fight, which he knows doesn't look good for him on paper, but, he steps in there and just gets absolutely obliterated by Malcolm Wellmaker, who looks like an absolute problem in the division. So Malcolm Wellmaker, hope he's walking away. I haven't seen the bonuses yet, but hope he's walking away with 50 Gs. Thought Jose Ochoa looked absolutely fantastic as well, man. I'm a big fan of Cody Durden. That dude is just a little angry, I love his attitude. Like, he just wants to fight everybody. And Jose Ochoa clipped him. I thought he looked really early. And Phil Rowe, man. Phil Rowe versus Ange Losa. Phil Rowe, not in a good spot coming into this fight, not in a good spot in the fight, and battled back to get this late finish. And I thought it was a gutsy performance, man, and he had to dig deep for that one. So that stood out for me as well, man.
Beautiful stuff there, man. Well, look, another fight night card in the books. That is it from us. John Morgan, as we finish up, man, you got a couple of weeks at home. What's coming up? What can we check out from you next? Obviously, you'll be down there for International Fight Week, doing your thing for the big card as well. What's coming up that we can keep an eye open for?
That's it, man. Yeah, I would say from the the media perspective inside. I mean, obviously, I do cage side with John Morgan on Grind City Media. Still do the MMA Roadshow, 10 years plus strong with my boy Cole Coffee. So you can always tune into those. But yeah, I'll be around for International Fight Week all week. My wife and son, I'm actually going on vacation on Monday, but they'll be out of town. They're going to visit family, so I will be free. I got nothing going on, so I plan to be at pretty much everything that week because my family's out of town. So like, what else I got going on? So International Fight Week for me, and then for July, man, we got a busy CFFC schedule in July. We got July 18th at the Florida State Fairgrounds for CFFC 144. That'll be on UFC Fight Pass. July 25th. We'll be at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City for Fury Professional Grappling 14. So we'll have some big announcements coming up with that, with some of the grappling cards. They're a lot of fun. If you haven't had a chance to check out our grappling events, man, we last one was fun. Me and Dean Thomas sitting on a couch, just hanging out, watching grappling. I love it because I don't have to put a suit on. Like, I get to just wear shorts and a T-shirt and a hoodie and hang back and have a cocktail and watch grappling. We have a good time. And the following night, we'll actually be doing our first all next-gen event as well, where we're trying to kind of find some up-and-coming talent from around the nation and fly them out to Atlantic City. So big July coming up. So International Fight Week coming up most directly, and then big July for CFFC.
Perfect, John. Well, thank you so much, friends. Thanks, everybody, for watching this. Kamaru Usman back in action after an incredible performance. Hope everybody cashed in those bets, and we will catch you guys next time here on Submission Radio.